This video is sponsored by Bloom Audio. If you need affordable mixing and mastering services, check out bloom-audio.com. I know they do a great job because I am them. Hey guys, welcome back to another trash can filled completely with helpful tips. I'm your host. Please watch my stream. Go check it out, 12 p.m. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Today I'll be showing you guys how to master a song with Ozone 8. I had done that before with Ozone 8 Elements, but I don't know, that's like a cheaper version. That's not as good. This version is much better. So I'm going to be showing you guys the real deal today. This is probably one of the better things you could use for home mastering. So I'm giving away a little bit of sauce here today. So make sure you watch all the way through. Not just to help me. I mean, you could do that too if you want. Alright, so in the last video, I showed you guys how to do subtractive EQ on a beat that I made. And we're going to use the same beat today, and I'm going to show you guys how to master it. I exported the mix down at -6 decibels. You want to export your mix down somewhere between -3 to -6 decibels. That way you have enough headroom to get it as loud as you want. First, I'm going to explain the devices you use in a mastering chain and what order they should go in and why. I'm going to draw with MS Paint here on the screen. Editor Weaver, yes, Filming Weaver. You can decide if you want to replace the MS Paint drawings or if you want to put something else in there. Right, I'll put lots of dicks there. What? Alright, cool. So limiter/maximizer, that's going to be at the end of our chain here. And to visualize that, we can just put a big wall. That's essentially what it's going to do. It's going to be a wall for us so that it's going to stop the volume from going past 0 decibels or -1 decibel or -0.3 decibels, whatever we're going to do for our master. So then next EQ, which is going to be at the beginning, EQ is going to give us some color to it. We may want to subtract some frequencies we don't like. We may want to add some. I actually missed something here. Alright, there we go. Now you can do both of these, or you can just do one or the other. A harmonic exciter is meant to give you harmonics where there are none, and EQ will help bring out those harmonics. And after that, you can have the compressor, or you can have it either way, really. It's not really a big deal which way it goes. Kind of just figure out which one sounds better for your song. The compressor is meant to shorten the dynamic range a little bit and give you more headroom, therefore giving you just a little bit more loudness. The stereo imager, which is also optional. You can use this to help make the track wider. You're always better off doing things in the mix down, but you may want to do a little bit of this in the mastering. It really just depends on the song. And next we have the dynamic EQ. Now this is a little more advanced. I'll just try to briefly explain it. So dynamic EQ is EQ that changes depending on whether or not the frequency of a selected area exceeds a threshold. If it does, then it'll trigger the compression, aka bringing the level down. So there'll be a number of EQ bands and they'll be triggered by the crossing of the frequency through the threshold. We can use this to help us get a little more loudness. It's not something you always want though, because it could take away some of the punch from a song. So that's great to remember also, but it's always a great tool to have in your hand. This one I'm going to put an asterisk next to because it's extremely optional. Probably the most optional out of all of these. Then after that we have our limiter/maximizer, which is meant to give us our full boost to our max loudness. That way we can win the loudness war. We want to win the loudness war, right? So after the limiter/maximizer, the whole point of that is to get it to our target loudness and sounding as good as possible. I'll just try to explain target loudness real quick. So for each platform, you're going to have a different target loudness. After passing a certain volume, there's no point because it's just going to turn it down. Some platforms like SoundCloud or CD do not turn it down. Whereas Amazon Music, if you go past -14 LUFS, there's no point. Whereas YouTube, if you go past -13 LUFS, there's no point. Spotify, -14, Tidal, -14. The list goes on. Basically, that's about as loud as we're going to need to master it. If you go past that, it's fine if it doesn't sound too bad. That's one thing to remember. For something like SoundCloud, you're going to want to aim for like -7 or -8. Depending on the genre you do, it could be a little lower, aka -9, -10. But yeah, basically, if you want to understand all this target loudness stuff, I'll leave some links down in the description. It could just keep going. Like, I could talk about this for a long time. I almost wish I didn't even start talking about it. Okay, so for our target loudness for this, we'll just, we'll do a -8 and a -14. The goal is to get this to -8 for SoundCloud or CD, or -14 for Spotify. Alright, so now that you guys understand a basic mastering chain, we're going to master a song using Ozone 8. Let's do that. Follow me. I'm going to open up Ableton Live. I'm just going to be my host for this. You can do this with any DAW really. First things first, I'm going to delete the MIDI tracks. And I'm just going to leave one audio track. I'm going to bring in our mix down, which should be between -3 to -6 decibels. I'm going to make sure the warping is off. I'm going to make sure it's starting at the beginning of the track. Then I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to check the peak volume before getting started, just to make sure. Alright, so it's about -5 decibels, so it's perfect. You can bring it down a little more if you want. It's not really a big deal, as long as it's somewhere within that range. But yeah, let's just do -6 for this example. Alright, that's pretty close, 5.9. Alright, so I'm going to drag on Ozone 8 onto the track. We're not going to use any of the specific tools, we're going to use the actual Ozone 8. You can put it on the master or the track. The benefits of putting it on the master is you can use the send returns, so I guess we could do that. Now, a quick way to do this, if you don't really know what you're doing, you can press the master assistant. Let's check that out and see what that does for us. You may want to set the BPM of your project to match the song. That way it's easier to jump through the song or loop it, sorts like that. And we got an easy loop there now. So I'm going to loop it by clicking that. Alright, now I'm going to click the master assistant. And I'm going to put the CD, and then I'm going to put the intensity to high. That way we can get it as loud as possible. And we're just going to see what it does. Alright, now you can just let it play. You don't even have to listen to it. I'm sure you're tired of the song at this point, right? I mean, not this one, just whatever song you're doing this to. No way you get tired of mad music. Okay, after doing the master assistant, you can clearly hear and see this is -8 LUFS. This is -8 LUFS. So it actually did a pretty good job. It's actually past that, it's -7. I can't even talk over this, it's so loud. But yeah, if we want to bring that down a bit, we can turn down the threshold. And that'll make it less compressed and less loud. AKA it'll sound a little better. That sounds pretty decent to me. I mean, if you wanted to call it a day there, that would actually be pretty decent if you don't know what you're doing and you don't want to learn anymore. So the master assistant is pretty decent on Ozone 8 in my opinion. The one in Ozone 8 Elements is a piece of shit and does virtually nothing. You gotta make sure you have the settings set up right in this one, and it does a decent job, but you can actually make this better if you really want to. And that's going to be it for the basics for Ozone 8. Now, if you want to get to the next part, I'm going to go in a little bit more in depth. I'm going to show you how to master a track completely from scratch. Alright, so to start off, we're going to drag Ozone 8 on the master. Now we could click the master assistant, but why? Why do that? Let's just get rid of everything except for the maximizer for now. Let's get to our target loudness, and then we'll add in our other effects from there. So we're going to want to use either IRC1 or IRC4. Those are generally the best for mastering. One more thing before we get started though, let's turn down the ceiling to -0.3. Alright, you're going to want to enable the true peak, and you want to bring down the threshold. So you set the signal down here. You don't want to do it too far, otherwise you notice it starts to get a clipping sound to it, and if you don't do it far enough, it's not loud enough. So it's kind of a balancing act in a way. Alright, so we're going to bring down the threshold. Alright, if you feel like IRC1 is crushing it too much, or I don't know, you're not liking the sound of it, I recommend trying IRC4. There's two other types as well, but I wouldn't recommend them as much, but obviously they're there, so still try them. And as you can see, there's 3 types within IRC4. That's part of the reason why I like this one so much, mostly because of the modern and transient modes. The transient mode especially is great for mastering because it can kind of bring back some of that punch that you're destroying that you get from hitting it with a maximizer. Alright, so play that balancing act until you find like a happy medium. So our target loudness was, we're going for about -8, so we're about there right now, so it's about perfect. And then from there we can do an EQ, and we're going to add that by pressing this plus, and then you click on whatever device you're trying to add. And then you can rearrange them like this. We're going to put the equalizer behind the maximizer. And then from there, we're going to figure out what kind of EQ we need to do. There's tons of EQ options here. There's a mid-side, left, right. So if you want to EQ the left and right sides independently, you can do that. You can also do the middle and side independently. But I think we're just going to do stereo EQ for now. Just hit everything. I think we're just trying to make it more rich and maybe cut out just a little bit of lows. I'm going to just like kind of sweep and find some sweet frequencies and boost those slightly. So we're going to play. Might add a few more bands. Alright, maybe cut a little bit of lows here. I might adjust the frequencies a little bit, make sure it's a little more musical. Down back the band some. Maybe turn it up a little more now. Mastering's all about subtlety for sure. It's very subtle. We're gonna do some dynamics, aka compression. It can make the loudness rating we're getting to a little bit cleaner. So a little compression on the way. And we could do multi-band compression, but honestly, I think that's overcomplicating things. I have some tutorials and ideas for why you can use multi-band compression, but I just think it's like a situational thing. It's not really, I don't know, you could just really mess up the tone of whatever sound you put it on if you're not careful. So I say if there's one thing you should take away from me, it's beware of multi-band compression. Just put that on my tombstone, really. Beware of multi-band compression.
Goodbye.
Next, we're going to set the compressor. It's not that different from setting a regular compressor. You're going to bring down the threshold. There's a ratio, attack, release, knee, all that stuff. There's a dry and wet knob, which is great. We can find a nice blend. First thing I'm going to do is turn down the threshold a little bit and play with these settings. Not the dry wet though. That's the last one we touch. We're going to want slow attack and release settings. That way it's very subtle. May want to even do some post EQ after that. So I'm gonna add some post EQ. It's essentially the same thing, I'm pretty sure. It's just EQ, but I'm gonna add some highs back because I think we lost a little bit of highs after that compression. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Maybe a little tiny notch on the snare. Maybe a little bit of boost on that melody shit. Just adjusting the sounds so that I feel like they're all around the same frequency range I want them to be at. I'm pretty happy with these EQs here, I think. Let's listen to it. You know, I tighten up some of the cues, I think. Okay, there we go. I'm pretty happy with that. Let's see, what else can we do? We could use a little bit of exciter. I'll just show you guys what it does. Maybe we can see if there's anything that sounds good on it. We're going to remove the band, so it's just single band. You can do that by right-clicking on it. If you don't want to do that, though, you can link the bands this way. That's a great way to modify them all at the same time. Now you're going to turn up the amount. You can mess with the mix knob. As you see, there's a bunch of different pipes. It adds like some color or some richness to it, but I feel like the song's already kind of rich, so it doesn't, you don't need this broke shit. Alright, I think I adjusted it to a point there that I like. And I would say I'm pretty happy with this. We could do some imaging. Maybe I'll show you guys that real quick. So this one, you're probably going to want to keep the bands on. And there's a lot of different ways you can use this, but the smartest start, I would say, is to click the learn knob, just so we can learn the bands here, and then play it. So now that we've done that, there's numerous approaches we can take to making the song wider. One thing a lot of people will do is they will narrow the lowest band. Basically because you're trying to create distance between the frequencies. I'm not really a fan of how that sounds though. I think it's better to go up with it, like this. And if that sounds too strong, maybe dial it back a bit. I think you want to create a spread of sorts. That's the way I think of it. I don't know, I feel like it's smart if it goes by ratio. Maybe I'm just weird like that. Maybe I'm just mathematic like that. You can also click the stereoize knob if you want to create lots of phase issues. You probably don't want to use this on your whole song. It's better in the mix, in my opinion, like on a specific track. But I don't really like what this does to the sound of the song. I'm a bigger fan of panning, in my opinion, in the mix down stage, and just avoiding this completely. So we're gonna lose the imager. All right, so that's it for our master. There's a few things left to do though. I'm not gonna get into dithering today or the codec shit. I'm gonna show you guys how to use the reference feature and how to change the LUFS to something more suitable for Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, etc. So now that we have our master, we're gonna click on the reference tab and we're gonna add a reference, click here, and then we're gonna find some loud music to compare to. Depending on the platform we're putting it on, you're gonna wanna keep that in mind. So I nabbed this off of SoundCloud. So this is an RL Grime song. Okay, we're gonna have to enable this button here in order to hear it. Pretty loud compared to our song. Pretty much there. We just need more highs. From there though, you may want to add more references, start checking against more. I'm fine with that for now though. Made me notice I wanted to add a little more highs though, so I did that. And boosted some of the EQs that got there, I think. But if you want it this loud and it's ready for SoundCloud or CD, export it, do some tests, make sure you save the project file. All that stuff is a good idea, because you may have to go back and make some changes upon export. There's also some other settings I didn't cover here, like the transient emphasis as well. That just emphasizes the transient in certain areas more. So say we want to adjust it for something more like Spotify, which is -14 LUFS, if I remember correctly. And you're going to want to bring it down until the LUFS says 14. You're going to have to click on it to update it, because it tries to register the peaks. So if it registered a really high peak earlier, it's not going to update until you click on it to refresh it. So we're going to bring down the threshold and click on that until we say whatever the target loudness is we're going for. In this case, -14. All right, we got roughly like -14. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. You don't really need to compress it, or you don't really need to hit it with a maximizer / limiter in order to get it to -14. But -14 is pretty low. And a lot of people still use SoundCloud and CDs. I don't know about CDs, but a lot of people still use SoundCloud. So it's still worth it to learn how to win these loudness wars, but sometimes there's not much of a war to win. From there, you're going to want to export that, and then you're going to want to save it separately from the other master. If you want to master these tracks yourself, you can contact me. I run a mixing and mastering service called Bloom Audio, bloom-audio.com, the best mixing and master service on the planet. No need to look that up. If you don't want to spend the time and effort to learn how to mix and master, or if you just don't feel like it's worth your time, you can send it to me, and it's worth my time to help you out. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you guys learn how to master with Ozone 8. Make sure to comment, like, subscribe. Tell me what you liked about this video and what kind of tutorial I should do next time. Make sure to check out my Patreon if you haven't. Exclusive content on there. Quite often I'll put my videos up early as well. You also get a special role in my Discord, so people get to find out that you are cool by supporting me. Lastly, check out my affiliate links down in the description if you need to get some sort of software or hardware for your computer, or cameras, just basically anything that I might be using. I have affiliate links for it down in the description. It's a great way to support the channel without adding anything extra to your cart. We get some kickback, everybody wins. So yep, you heard that right. It doesn't cost anything extra for you, but I get a percentage of it still. Awesome, right? So yeah, check those out, please. Please tune in next time when I become a baby. Ooh, there's a hair in there. Shout out to my patrons, you guys are awesome. You're now listening to Future Collective. The link to check them out is down in the description.